I'm happy for it. Alright.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm going to share my screen to start with our community agreements. And um, you're all welcome to today's session. And in this space, we're all welcome regardless of ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, or disability, as usual. And we're all invited to make space for others and to critique ideas and not each other, and to assume positive intentions generously with each other, to participate to the extent that makes you comfortable. You're welcome to keep your screens, cameras open or not, or off. Um, do what makes you comfortable. And we are going to be aiming to be accessible intentionally. So we are going to describe visuals. And if anyone would like to any accommodation with anything, or if we miss anything and like to have support with anything, please feel free to send me a text on the chat, or Yasser. He's co-hosting with me. And that's it. I'll give the floor to Kim to introduce herself and the session today. Thank you very much, Kim, for being here. I'm gonna stop sharing and
Okay. Thank you, May, for the introduction to the session. I thought we were going to wait a few more minutes for people to join, but I'm totally ready to take it away. Seems like we have at least one person here who's ready to jump in and apparently has read the description and knows what they're getting into. But even if you don't, fine. We're going to work through this together. So I'm just going to share my screen. I have a gazillion windows open, so let's see what happens when I try to find what I'm looking for. Already it's a problem, so give me 1 minute. I think I figured it out. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Are we in action? I think so. So welcome everyone to Digital Wellness, the manual of me protecting your space while navigating connections. And I'm really excited to present this. It has been a work in progress, but I like where it's going. And so I'm really excited to share this idea and how it came about, at least from my perspective. And as May mentioned, I'm Kim Fox. I teach at the American University in Cairo. So I do want to say a little bit about me before we move on. I always like to present myself so that people don't have to make assumptions about who I am and why am I the one to talk about this particular topic. So some of my background is that I'm a podcaster, among other things. As you can see from this list, the podcast that I have been the executive producer of is called the Ekia Master Podcast. Roughly translates into Tell Your Story Egypt. And I've worked with my former students on this podcast. It's been a great way to tell stories about living in Cairo. Our pitch line is, it's a narrative, nonfiction, bilingual podcast about living in Cairo, told through these little short stories, like I said, with some of my former students. And in addition to that, I teach at AUC. So I do creative work, but I also do academic research, and I do some academic research on radio, audio, and podcasting. But I also have noticed a void in terms of teaching these technical, practical skills. And so I started doing academic research on the pedagogical approaches to teaching, say what, production classes. I've been also active in service work, like being in leadership in several media organizations, or not just media organizations, but professional organizations like the Broadcast Education Association, the Arab and U.S. Association for Communication Educators, and along with a few others. You can probably notice, like from this short list, this keeps me busy, right? And you would be true to come to that conclusion. And that last point there, the founder of PodFest Cairo, it was one of these opportunities where I was waiting for someone to plan a podcasting conference in Cairo and in Egypt. And it just gets to a point where it's like, no one's going to do it, so you should do it. And that's what I did. And we've been doing it now for, I think, 6 years. So those are just some of the things that I've done. And you might be asking yourself, like, well, how does that connect to digital wellness? And it was like, it really doesn't, except for all of these things involve us being digital in some way, like being online, communicating with each other, and things like that. And so I've just gotten to a point in my career and in life where I'm thinking about digital wellness and I'm thinking about digital joy and trying to figure out, how do we get there? How do we get more of that? Which kind of led me to where we are today. So just a real quick brief. I'm not going to be talking the whole time about myself, even though it is a manual of me. So there's that. The itinerary for today is to just kind of introduce ourselves just a little bit. Also, I'm going to provide an introduction for the session. If we do need to go into small breakout rooms, we will take care of that. And then we'll have a report back about, hey, what happened in those breakout rooms. I find that some of the small discussions where you get a chance to talk are very beneficial to then bring some of those ideas to a larger group and then talk about some of the takeaways. So yeah, let's get started with some introductions. How about we do that? Let me see if I can jump out of my presentation right quick. Hope I don't have trouble getting back into it when I need to. But yeah, who wants to jump in with an introduction? Shahanaz, do you want to open up your
Yeah,
mic?
yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Shahinaz. I'm a AUC alumni as well. So yeah, I've been to AUC. Like I graduated 2 years ago, and actually I know you, Professor, because my friend used to take classes with you. So she used to tell me all the time about you and how good. Like she's just obsessed with you. She loves you so
Oh,
much.
what's her
Yeah.
name?
Wahiba.
She is one of my favorites.
Yeah, she used to love you so much. So, I actually, when I saw this, yani, I like knowing about digital wellness because, like, we're always online. We're always going through social media. We're always going through stuff. For myself, I'm trying out, like, I'm writing a blog currently. So, I'm trying to understand what to say, what to share, what not to share, to understand how much should I share about myself online and how much should I keep to myself? And honestly, when I saw the session and obviously given by you, so I was interested. So
Okay, great. I like this idea because I'm also thinking about, well, like what brings you here? And you've just given us some background on that. And it's just like, I think this idea is applicable across sectors. Um, if you say, who am I doing a manual of me for? I think you will find it's going to be very useful in many regards. So I'll come back to that thought in just a moment. So thank you for that introduction.
thank you.
May and Yasser, do you want to participate or do you want to be in the background?
Uh, we'll be in the background. Personally, I'll be in the background today.
Yasser, is that a yes for you as well? I think that's a yes for Yasser as well.
I'll share briefly. My perspective of digital wellness is just being in a space where digitally communities are built through interactions like MYFest, where we care for each other. So it's always characterized by care and inclusion and belonging.
You are on point, Yasser. For example, when May was doing setting the foundation for today's session, I mean, that is a bit of a manual of me. How does MYFest want to be represented, and how do they want us to behave when we're in MYFest sessions? So that is sort of the same thing. Let me get back to the presentation. Go. Perfect. I didn't lose my place. This is a proud moment. So today's objective is to create this draft of your manual of me. And I say a draft because I think a document like this is a work in progress, especially I'll tell you about how I came to this point of wanting to do a manual of me. We see ourselves change, or at least I've seen myself change over the years. And I'm sure you've probably seen this or heard this from your parents in terms of like behavior, especially if you're an older sibling and you have a younger sibling, of how they parented you and how they parent the younger child. It's like parents change too, right? Like the younger child often gets away with things that you would have never gotten away with. And so that manual of me has some flexibility and is constantly revolving as you adapt and as you grow and as you learn more about yourself, for example. So what is the manual of me? I consider it to be a guide for how you would like to be treated. I think there is a way that we can clarify our preferences for communicating and collaborating. And it really goes both ways, but often people don't pick up on signs sometimes of these kinds of ways you want to be treated. The other one is, the second point is a guide to what brings you joy. And so I want to make sure that this manual of me is not a list of negative things. So we also want to make sure that we can identify things that help you flourish and help you do your best work. Again, these points are aligned with the same things that MYFest wants to bring out of us. And the third point here on the slide says a guide to how to avert negative interactions. And so, yeah, we're going to try to be preemptive in that regard, communicating our boundaries and our expectations in order to have, again, and to foster a respectful environment. Any questions so far? Just feel free to jump in if you have a question. I'm trying to pay attention to
Everything's good, Doctor.
Okay, thank you so much. So the question of why would you need a manual of me? And like this digital curiosity that you mentioned, I think that factors into this. How to communicate your needs before misunderstandings arise, that aligns with the previous slide, and to protect your well-being while strengthening connection. So it is kind of like, yeah, you have your boundaries in place, and the hopes that other people will respect what it is you're trying to achieve. In the end, we're all trying to achieve the same thing, and that is communicating with each other. So that brings me to like, how did I get to this point? I have at least two stories to share with you in that regard. As a professor, I find that I am often frustrated with students who do a number of things that bring me frustration. But it dawned on me that perhaps they don't realize that they're bringing me frustration. These are points that would not show up in the syllabus. So this manual of me is not a syllabus. These are, you might, in your syllabus, you might have some things that speak to classroom engagement and things like that. But this manual of me is to say, like, if students are having side conversations, not only when I'm speaking, but when other people are speaking, and it's disruptive. It's disruptive, yes, but also I can't focus. And so when I can't focus, I can't get my thoughts together until it's like a buzzing bee or a fly. Like I need to get rid of that thing in order to focus on what this person is saying. And so I wouldn't say it's just students, because I find that when I'm in meetings and there are side conversations, I also have the same frustration of why are they speaking so loudly that I can hear them and I can't focus on the person who should be speaking. So that's when it dawned on me, like, well, maybe I should let people know, like, here's how we can have a better classroom environment if we don't have the side conversations, if we are respectful to each other. We can, sometimes what I find is that the side students will say, oh, I was asking such and such about such and such. And usually my answer is, well, like, that might be a really good question to ask the entire class and not have a side conversation, right? So I want more of that, of like, yeah, how do we facilitate learning environments that really bring out the best in all of us? But another example I wanted to share with you, which is a bit of a longer story, but it brought in the manual of me before I even thought of doing a manual of me. I used to teach and work at a university where we had, and I was the general manager for the radio station. So as the radio station would do programming for the sports teams, and we had a very active sports campus. So they had basketball and football, and they had the women's sports, including softball and football and soccer. So we had an active sports department, and they had a lot of responsibility because not only were they covering games on campus, but they covered games off campus, which meant that they would probably have to drive to a game, maybe stay overnight. We had to have a budget. There were just so many particulars in place for this particular sports team. One semester, the women's softball team made it to the national championship, and it was out of state. It was really far away from where we were, but we had been covering all of their softball matches. But the semester was over. So essentially, before I could even have a chance to say, well, what are we going to do now that the semester's over? We don't have a staff to cover these matches. The sports director and the assistant sports director, let me turn off the share so you can see me. Sorry about that. This assistant sports director and sports director came to me. They knocked on my door and said, hey, we want to talk to you. And I thought it was a little bit odd, but I said, hey, yeah, come on in. And they were like, we know you're going to say no, but we're here to make you say yes. And I was taken aback, like, okay, what's going on? What's the problem? They had spent like a day and a half going around campus, getting permissions to cover the game, knowing that I had the sole permission. I'm the top person who can give them the green light to do this because I'm the general manager of the station. But they felt like I was going to say no because we don't have a place to stay. We don't have a way to get there. We don't have a budget. We don't have anyone to operate the equipment. There were a lot of reasons why I would have said no. But they went around and got everyone to sign off and green light everything that needed to be done. The only thing they needed from me was a yes. And at that point, I was just like, well, wholeheartedly, yes. There's no work for me to do. Why would I say no? And when I think about the manual of me, I'm like, this is a gift. True, they did my job when they shouldn't have had to, but there was something in it for them. And if we are more considerate, which I thought they were very considerate of my time and the time of year, if we were more considerate of each other, how much more of that can we get? Everybody gets what they want when we really are considerate of how people are navigating. And so that's a long example that doesn't involve the digital environment, but it does involve that humanness and that connectedness and that thoughtfulness that is sometimes absent. And I was very impressed because these were young people. These are young people who are in college who just were thoughtful enough to say, like, hey, here's something that's beneficial for everyone involved, including you who has the last decision. So it was nice to have that opportunity to see things that as I can recall, nothing like that had happened before, where people were so considerate of my time that they then took the opportunity to sort of check boxes. But it also reminds me of another parenting thing, that when you want your parents to say yes, this is exactly what you do. You were like, I know my parents are going to say no, but I'm gonna, check some boxes so that they'll say yes. So yeah, I think that's a good example that I just really wanted to share as an option. I'll get back to the presentation. I'm probably going to turn off my camera at some point. I'm losing my daylight, as you can see. It's getting darker and darker, and I don't have any lights on. Oh, I paused the screen sharing. Can you see the screen now or no?
Not yet, no.
Okay. I'm coming back to it. Give me a minute.
Yeah, now we can see the screen.
You see all of my activity. It's not letting me click on it. Just bear with me. Uh-oh, I think my screen is frozen now. May, can you take over and unshare for me, please?
Unshare.
Unshare the screen.
Let me check if I can.
Make me co-host, but yeah, no, unshare.
Okay,
My computer is frozen.
this will stop.
Just bear with me. Oh yeah, it's really not cooperating.
I did something here to. I
Can
can
you
see.
also pause the recording, please?
Sure.